Welcome back. So now I'm going to take that side view sketch that I just did and plot it out to three-quarter view and clean it up just a bit and put a touch of VisCom on there. Just enough to communicate the concept. So here's my previous side view. One thing you'll notice is I merged all the layers. When it gets dirty, I get a little bit frustrated. I'm going to duplicate this just to be on the safe side, so in case I screw it up later. One of the first things I like to start off with when going into translating from 2D to 3D is I'll make a box around the whole thing, and I'm going to use this box as an indicator of the proportions. And I'm going to split this box in half, and then in this case split those in half, and I'm going to try to replicate these rectangles in three-quarter view. Whenever in doubt, I'll make a new layer. I'm going to drop down my X for the perspective. I typically have very little perspective fisheye. It's almost like an isometric view because I feel it's the most informative view. And also my perspective is not perfect. I kind of just do the best that I can. I found that just guesstimating a lot of times is just better than eyeballing. So I guesstimate with the perspective grid. I got that, but you can see that line is it's actually pretty bad. I almost want to redo it, but I don't think it's necessary. Maybe this is just a challenge to show that you can kind of wing it, but you still want some sort of reference. And so I'm still going to use my perspective for that. All right, I'm going to take these lines into perspective, split this thing in half. Now, what's one of the first things I want to translate into 3D view? What do you guys think? No, it's not that. No, we can't do that. It's actually going to be the center line. Okay, so I've kind of plotted out the perspective box. I've chopped it up. I think I have the proportion that this guy has, that proportion, the height to the length. I'll make a new layer. If this is distracting me, I can lower the opacity just a bit. And on the new layer, now I'm going to try to plot out my center line. So what I'm going to use for indicators is these breaks that kind of define these little rectangles. One thing is I noticed the beak is about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4th of the way up. So maybe around there. That's where my beak is. I'll put a dot. The very top beak, I would say the top peak of the roof is over here, and it's a little bit outside of my box actually, but I'm just kind of guesstimating. So this is about 1/3 or 1/4 of the way in the middle box. So this is the middle box. I would say that ends over there. And it's kind of like this teardrop shape. And so this shoots up and it shoots to the tip of the end. It's almost halfway. So I'll put that over there. And so it's a nice accelerating curve to the tip where it's kind of going slower in the front and then it speeds up towards the rear. Okay, and then the bottom is almost a straight line, but of course it's got a little bit of crown to it. We usually want to do that because if I do that, then it's going to look like a stretched banana. And this way it's going to feel fuller and stronger. Okay, now I'm going to kind of guesstimate the length of this. So I kind of put this box with my original guesstimation. I'm going to imagine that this area, the peak of the top is also the peak of the sides. That sounds like some sort of a salsa dish or something. Okay, so the peak of the top is there. I can reference, maybe, all right, there's the peak over here. I'm going to take that to the other side. Okay, the width of my vehicle is going to be over there. And I'm going to use a similar gesture of that middle centerline curve to define the sides. So maybe I'll just shoot that all the way to that peak. Shoot it there. And then from here, I'm going to shoot it straight back. Maybe I'll add a little bit of thickness. Just a bit of thickness. We don't want to have zero thickness on our objects because it's going to look weak. I think I can put a little bit more curve in here. I think maybe some sections of the original form so it doesn't feel too angular with that center line there. All right, now I can go in there and add some details, and thankfully the hard part, I think the surfacing is out of the way. And now I'm going to put in this visor. This visor is between maybe 2 and 3. So 2 and 3, if I shoot that back, it's going to be from here. And now I'm almost looking at that visor as a section line. So it's kind of going parallel with the bottom. It's going to go back here. And right when it ends, when the first box ends, there's the first box. If I shoot it there, if I bring it down, lay it down that way, I think that's what the visor is going to look like. And I'll take that to the other side, make sure perspective, the edges match up. Okay, I got the visor. Now I'm going to go in with the side detail element. So the side thing is in the second box, almost like halfway. So here, I'm going to shoot it in, and then it goes at the same angle as the front of the center line. So from here, I'm going to shoot it back. It's going to get even more aggressive because it's moving away from us. And from there, I'm going to shoot that all the way back to, wants to aim up here. Take this guy, let's bring it out to there. A lot of this is guesstimation, but you'll see, I think the end result is going to look better than expected. Okay, that ends halfway down the last box. By the way, my boxes, they were a little bit on the stubby side. Shoot that there, so that ends right here. It's parallel. It's kind of parallel of the very bottom of the ship right here. Okay, so I think I have my shell, and I have the main graphic breakups. This is just an underlay, so I'm going to actually go in there and clean this up. But this is one of the hardest parts, to actually plot it into 3/4 view. And you can see how when it's really simplified, it's just that much easier to work with, especially if it has to do with the forms. Let's see if I check my timer. All right, I did that in about 8 minutes. Not bad at all. Anytime I hit a milestone like this, I want to flip it to the other side and make quick corrections. Okay, right off the bat, one thing I noticed is that, and I'll duplicate this from messing around with. I'll bring this over here, erase all the junk around it. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking that this thing's too stubby, and I need to stretch it out. So if I look at my original sketch, I'm going to flip this back, and I'm going to use my warp tool, and since it's such a simple shape, it's going to be that much easier for me to stretch it out. I think that looks cool. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So once I have that, I'm going to lower the opacity, and I'm going to pretty much trace over the details that I like. So I'll go back to my brush, and you can use Control-Z, or you can do a little bit of the chicken scratching I'm doing. But I'm just being a little bit more careful. Sometimes you can zoom in. This way you have less chance for error with your chicken scratching. Another thing I do recommend is watch the resolution. I think I was getting a little on the small side. I think this size is presentation size, presentation resolution. All right. So again, I'm pretty much going over the lines that I want to keep. And now I'm using much nicer, thinner lines. Put a little bit of curvature here. I really don't want to have any flat sides. I want to always have some sort of crown on my surfaces, because that's, I think, a professional way of doing it. And I'm going to go over the graphic element that I had, this cut here. And extend that out. And what that is telling me is that it's been 10 minutes already. I need to hurry up. I do time myself a lot to stay on track because it's easy to get carried away. When you're doing stuff like this, you can kind of get lost in it and take a long time. So I just set my timer for another 10 minutes. And by the time this next 10 minutes is over, I'm going to be done with this. And so sometimes when you tell yourself that, you'd be surprised how often you will actually do that. So now I'm tracing the visor. There we go. Remember little eyelashes I put in there, make it nice and thick and thin. The visor in this case is kind of an indicator of the face. And also design-wise, that visor shoots up almost to the peak. Now I'm keeping in mind going in line with something like that. And I should have probably plotted this out really loosely first. But it shoots up here, that's the center line, and then it kind of, you can use it as a section line, and then it shoots back just a bit, and then it continues with that angle. So something like that. And then I want to have that nice thick and thin in my lines. So maybe there's a little opening back there. Alright, and from this side, does the same thing. Comes up here, and we don't see that bend on that side so much. And shoots back, and at perspective level, we're going to bring that back to the center. Okay, I think that'll work. And next, I'm going to go in there with a big fat brush, hit the whole thing with one stroke, and try to come down and get a very subtle crown going on, almost not noticeable. Another trick I like to do is put a little bit more value from the center line on out. And this also visually helps break up my vehicle so it feels even sleeker than it is. I'll go in with an eraser, with a big fat eraser, get rid of most of this value, and then shrink down my eraser. And get a little bit cleaner work done here. Just kind of going up to the lines. Next, what I'm going to do is duplicate that and grab my different values. So graphically, the lower part is darker, and since I'm at this, I put a little bevel in there, and also I want to show the front visor. So I'm just going to erase away from that. Maybe erase a little bit off of here. Alright, that's cool. Maybe a little bit darker. I think that's better. I think the second value, I'm going to erase a little bit of here to kind of show that that's just a bevel and it's not actually changing values. And you'd be surprised how something very subtle like that can actually do its job. Maybe erase a little bit off the center line here. check my time. Okay, I got 5 minutes to wrap this up. I want to say it's almost there, but a few things to finish things off. Alright, so I have a little greeble area on the side. I think I'm going to sketch that in first. So that cut is somewhere around here, and then carries towards the rear, and then breaks off. Just black that area out. Greeble wise, I think I'm just going to use the little happy accident greebles I had back there. Just some indicators of light there. A little bit more there. And I'm going to erase around that boundary. Maybe put a little bit of that bevel back there. Erase that away. One of the nice things I like about this is that very subtle light catcher that kind of falls off from the front visor. So I'll go in here, and it kind of has a gradient towards the upper part of the vehicle. So I'm going to try to aim for that gradient that goes upwards. There we go. And now I'm going to follow the kind of lower cut, and I'm going to do an offset erase. So it's almost like coming off of the visor and shooting down the side. I think something like that will work. And I think I'm going to kill it before it gets to the greeble area. And come back in here, get the visor eyelashes. Also, I want to fade it out towards the front. Now let's see, what else do I want to do? How about a little bit of light catcher back here, since I have a couple more minutes. So this is really fun stuff when it comes to sculpting in Photoshop. Maybe that break actually kind of changes the form a little bit. Go, I think that's fine. The parting line there. Maybe erase a little bit of that. Okay, and then I want to put a nice highlight going down the center. I think that'll work. I could put it over here. Actually, let's try that. So I'm in a new layer, going with a brush. Actually, I'm running out of time. So I'll just do a highlight right here. Do a little gradation towards the side, and then go in there with the eraser and erase to that center line. And this is a good opportunity. Put on a little bevel here. Erasing over that parting line. and I am running short on time. So I think the final thing I'm going to do here is there we go. That's 10 minutes. All right. I'm going to copy this. Paste. Flip it. And really quickly check to see, all right, what are the problem areas? What do I need to keep fixing on this? I want to say for the most part, feels nice to me. I just need to clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to flip it back. Put it back into position. Make a new layer and go over with a white and pretty much just cleaning it up. I kind of don't like what happened here, but my time is up, so I'm just going to let it go. Maybe put a little step in here to show that that cup's underneath. I think I can put another step there. A little bit of greeble. And I think I can even slim down the rear just a bit more. And the front needs a little bit cleaning up. There we go. And then finally, I'm just going to put my signature on here and let it go. So SM14. One of my favorite little graphic tricks in Photoshop is to put a little very subtle stroke, lower the opacity. I'm going to merge this down so I can mess around with it. I'm going to try to imagine what that surface is doing and try to match it. I think right around there would work. I think I should skew this a bit more though. Might be a bit much. But the bottom kind of lines up with that break, and the top kind of lines up with that break. So that just might work. But smaller. And alright guys, so that was kind of like a quick demo on doing like a spaceship. So you can see I have the side view, and I quickly try to translate that into 3/4 view and plot it out, clean up the lines, go in with values, and just pretty much clean up. So that's kind of overall, I'd say, in less than 45 minutes. And I think it's a great result. I think it'd be a great proposal for like a speed chip. From here, I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. I might do variations of a wing because it does feel like it's missing something, or whatever other details you want. But there's so many different directions to go, so many ways to do it. One thing that really helps me is putting a time limit on it. So good luck and thank you, and I hope you check out my next video. Thank you.